Ready.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Quarry Monitoring Committee meeting for January 28th, 2025. Is there a roll call, please?
Alderman Barber.
Here.
Member Swanson.
Here.
Alderman Joseph Hassan.
Here.
Member Tenhaken.
Here.
Member Pins.
Here.
All here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on through the agenda, item 2 is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October 29th, 2024.
I move to approve.
Seconded.
There's been a motion made and second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to item 3, citizen comment period. Please note that each speaker may need to be limited to 3 minutes, allowing everyone who wishes the opportunity to speak. Oh, and I'd like to welcome our mayor, Mayor Nelson, to the meeting. Did you wish to speak?
Sure.
Okay.
John Nelson, 7787 South North Cape Road, current mayor of our fine city. Just was talking to Yusuf prior. Working for you? You're kidding. It's not working? It always works.
I can hear you fine,
Exactly.
and I'm old with
That's all that matters. There's no people in there.
gunshots and everything.
System is loading. Okay.
We're good?
Well, I was just wanted to stop here and just wanted to thank everybody for the job they do, the ones that serve on this, on the monitoring committee, and it's a big job, and there's a lot of importance to this because for many years, we had some issues with citizens complaining about the blasting and everything else. So there was a lot going on for a number of years, and I just want to say thank you to the time you take to serve on the committees, and it means a lot to the residents that are definitely affected by it. So thank you. Am I within my 3 minutes?
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Any other citizens wishing to speak? Please step forward. Seeing no other citizens, I will move on to, or close the citizen comment period, and move on to our section for business action may be taken on any item, of which there's 2. So there's the quarterly presentation by Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for the 4th quarter of calendar year 2024.
Good evening. Get to
Your name and then your,
Kristen Gunderson Inden with Stantec.
okay.
Get to the report for the 4th quarter, which covers October, November, and December of 2024. In that quarter, we did complete 3 observation events. All of them were unannounced inspections, where we only viewed the exterior of the quarry. 2 in October, 1 in November. Street sweeper wasn't observed in use during 2 of the 3 site visits, which is fairly typical. It's the luck of the draw if it's out there while I'm on site. And nothing unusual is observed. Minor dust, primarily for trucks exiting to the east, which is fairly typical, but it was minor dust. In terms of the seismic monitoring, there were a total of 32 blasting events in 4th quarter. As you remember, there are 4 Payne and Dolan owned meters out there and 2 Stantec rented units, and they're co-located. 81% of the blasts were detected by the Stantec monitors, and most of those that weren't detected were ones where the meters that were that had detectable readings were not also detected by the quarry monitors, and it's just location based on separation from where the blast actually occurred. During the quarter, we compared the blast results with the PDD, and in the fourth quarter, none of the blasting events had a vibration above the limit. And for 2024, 98% of the blasts were below the limit, which is in compliance with the 85% blast limit in the PDD. For the air blast, they have the same 85% of the blasts having to be in conformance with the permitted limit. And none of the blast events during fourth quarter had an air overpressure over that decibel rating. And for calendar year 2024, 99% of the blasts were below that level. You're wondering, one's 99 and one's 98. That means there were 2 blasts that had vibration over the limit total for the year, and there was one that had an air overpressure rating over the limit. And then we go into the blast complaint evaluation. There were a total of 12 complaints received in the fourth quarter. 1 was informal with a phone call only, and 11 were formal. All of them were regarding vibration and noise. Half of the complaints had a location identified, and half requested anonymity. So what we were able to find out from the city is that the general location for the 6 anonymous ones were in the Marquette Avenue neighborhood to the east of the quarry. Complaints for the quarter, half were from east of 51st Street in the Marquette Avenue area, and half were south of Drexel Avenue. And then if we go through the actual comments from the blasts, on October 11th, blasting shook the whole house. You can see the results here were all well below the limits. Complaint was to the south, and the blast was in the southern pit area. October 14th, confidential complaint in the Marquette Avenue area. Blast was in the northern pit. Blast from the quarry shook the entire house and rattled windows. Blast was very loud and shook the floor. October 14th, there were 2 blasts, so we actually had complaints on both of them. The slightly later one had 1 formal and 1 informal complaint, both from the south of the quarry area. The blast was in the southern pit. Comments for the formal complaint was it was just a huge blast. October 16th, 1 complaint to the south for a blast in the southern pit. Rolling shake of the house was the comment. October 18th, confidential complaint in the Marquette Avenue area for a blast in the northern pit. Their comment was blast shook the entire house, floors and tables, windows rattled loudly. October 25th, confidential complaint in the Marquette Avenue area for a blast in the northern pit. Their comment was a blast from the quarry shook the entire house and rattled walls and windows. October 28th, another complaint in the Marquette Avenue area for a blast in the central pit. Comment was a blast from the quarry shook the entire floor and shook the house and windows. October 25th, confidential complaint as a home in the Marquette Avenue area. Blast in the southern pit this time. Blast moved my pictures that are on the wall. December 2nd, 1 complaint to the south. Blast was in the southern pit. Comment was, holy crap, the blast shook the house and rattled things in the basement they heard. December 6th, complaint to the south. Blast in the southern pit. Comment, very big blast, way above the normal, shaking our house. And violently, meaning everything shook like windows and doors and cabinets and floors. And the last one was on December 10th. The highest readings were still we're a little higher than some of these other ones, but still below the limit. Confidential complaint in the Marquette Avenue area, blast in the northern pit, blast shook the entire house. And if we go and look at the map at the end of the packet, the orange dots are the confidential complaints from the Marquette Avenue area. You can see most of them are to the north. There was one to the south. And that the complaints from the south were all for blasts that were in the southern pit area. The pink dots are blasts that had no complaints, which is a majority of the blasts. Otherwise, the other comments that we have in the report regarding timing and everything else, 32 blast events of the 87 for the year occurred in the fourth quarter. Like I stated, 10 of the blasts had 1 complaint, 1 blast had 2 complaints. Majority of the complaints were from blasts in the southern area of the quarry. And I think this is one of the comments you guys probably pay attention to. One address has submitted a total of 9 complaints this year, once in the first quarter, 3 times in the second quarter, once in the third and fourth time, 4 times in the fourth quarter. One address had 2 informal complaints in the first quarter. The complaints in the Marquette Avenue area were all to the area east of there, but it's not known if those came from the same area. And no complaints came from west of the route. A few more complaints than last quarter, but the readings were all within prescribed ranges.
Can you go to the map that showed the colored dots with
Yep.
blast locations quickly? Just had a question.
Yes.
There's a number of dots that are on the very east edge of the quarry opening area. Are they up against the berm? Are they blasting into the upper ledge up there? Yeah.
I guess that's
And this aerial photograph is probably a couple of years old, so I'll have them update that, see if there's a more current aerial photo we can use as a base going forward this year.
Okay.
Yeah, those would be for what we're calling pre-split. So the final wall on our eastern perimeter, we're basically just slicing a trench through there. So it's a safe final wall. So it's not a production shot.
Higher up than.
But they would be right. Yeah, they'd be at the very top of the bedrock.
Sure.
Yeah, so that'd be the highest level that we've got is where we're blasting there. So it's
Probably
pretty
makes
close
it-
to the surface.
More hearable and more feelable, I guess, a little bit, but yeah.
I would think so. Yeah, more noticeable too. I mean, they're just because
Gotcha.
of the location.
Those
of
are
the
the
berm.
kind of the limits of the area that you will be quarrying in perpetuity.
Correct. Yeah, we'll be going down from there, but no further
there.
east. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Looks like that's a 2022 base map.
Ah.
So I'll see if we can get a more current one going this year. I know they do the aerial updates periodically.
Yeah. You know, Google Maps still has that whole Marquette development, Viridian development, partially paved and not completely, so.
Yeah. So I'll ask Andy to update, see if we can update.
So if I could ask a question too. So just strategy for the year, do you have any planning of where you're going to be blasting? Is there any like large strategy blasting? Will it always be in the north and the south?
Yeah, if you want to go back to the map, West Heinlein, Payne and Dolan. So kind of where you see the cluster of pink dots to the north and east. Those far northern pink dots will be going there and down. Actually, everywhere you really see a cluster of dots is more or less where we're going to be for the year, just going further down. Yeah, we won't be doing a whole lot more to the far south there, but where those 4 pink dots will be going down from there, and then the cluster of dots further to the north will be going down from there. And then a little bit where the 4 pink dots are, just to the west of that, where we're already down kind of mid depth, of down about 100 feet there. We'll also be mining there. That's more or less the plan for the year, would be all in those 2 areas. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
I did have one last question for you, too. I thought about this. I noticed that the office building on Rawson Avenue, on the easterly entrance to the quarry, where we had met Clint when we went for the tour, that has been removed. It looks like they've raised that building. Correct on that?
No, so we did do a major remodel, interior remodel on that building,
Oh,
by the eastern entrance.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we did a remodel on that building. The building still exists. We didn't do a lot of exterior work on that. That being said, though, we are doing another remodel on our main scale house at the west entrance.
Gotcha.
So we actually, all of our traffic right now is coming in and out on the east side. All of our customer traffic is coming through that entrance. So that is a change. But no, we haven't. The only building we did raise was along 51st Street. Just south of there's a State Farm insurance office on 51st Street.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a residence there that we owned, that we did raise.
I noticed there was a big plywood board on the corner of Rawson and 51st that had like the information you would have in your employee break room or something with, the state human rights and laws and everything for. I was wondering why that was posted.
Yeah, you actually bring up a good question. I actually do need to look into that. I've noticed that as well. That's from one of our sister companies. I'm assuming what happened there is that they came off a job, and it was a convenient place to put it because it was company property. So I will work to get that removed.
It was blown down at one point. I don't know if they removed it yet. So.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. I could see how that could be unsightly. I'll work to get that removed from the area.
Thank you.
Any other questions coming forward? Okay, I have one. Now, do we do a compilation of these reports for an annual report? No. So what can we present to council for at least having them be aware of what the activities have been and maybe just put on file?
We have the biannual report that is presented to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
So
And when was the last part of the biannual?
I need to check if it will be due this year or next year. I need to confirm that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure at this moment.
Because it's nice to, like John said, it's nice to let the council know what we're doing here and what we're monitoring, and that it does have some meaning. Someone is regulating what it does go on there, and that's what we do. So I was just wondering what we maybe could present to council, just as a FYI, on file.
I'll follow up with an update when the biannual report will be due.
Okay.
I think last year we recommended to council, just as a recommendation to the common council, to continue these monitoring and services and the committee's existence kind of a thing.
With the,
We recommended it
with the
from here.
contract.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, yeah, that's the extent of our authority, I assume.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to place this on file.
I make the motion.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion made and second to place this report on file. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Moving on to item B, discussion about including confidential complaints in monitoring reports. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Brianna Buckles, Payne and Dolan. First, thank you, Regulo, for putting this on the agenda for us. This is something that Clint brought up at was last year's meeting already, in October. I think you're all familiar with the confidential complaints that we're getting from the Marquette Avenue area. From Kristen's report, it looks like that, it's almost half the complaints that we're getting are confidential. Yep, thank you.
I
From the
think everybody
Marquette
got a copy
Avenue
of it
area.
last meeting, but Youssef didn't seem to have it, so.
And our concern is that those complaints are going against an otherwise fairly good track record I think we have with our blasting in the city. And the homeowners in that new subdivision, in their deed when they purchased their house, signed a exhibit that waives any objections and rights to hearing on same, and agrees not to oppose or object to any such use regarding the quarry. So they waived their right to object to our quarry operations. And our concern is that they are objecting to our quarry operations, specifically to the city, which are then included in these reports. So we're wondering if it's possible to not consider their complaints as complaints.
Well, complaints and objections are two different things, actually, but speaking of this particular household,
Yeah.
Clint had given us the copy of the letter and the documents he sent them, and I live right just 2 blocks east of there, so, I mean, I walk that neighborhood all the time.
Yep.
And I have seen the people that live in the house, but I tell you, they are not social. They come driving in, they open the garage door, pull in, and close the garage door, and all the blinds are down on the windows, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so there you are. Because I wanted to welcome to the neighborhood. I've welcomed a lot of the people in the Viridian neighborhood to our neighborhood as part of our community, and have been very well received by most. I know there was one person I talked to, welcome to the neighborhood, and I asked him about how do you feel about the quarry blast? He must have felt a few of them. You know, he'd been here over a year now, and he says, "Yeah, I've felt them." He says, "I wasn't aware," and his wife was on the front porch, and she says, "Oh, we were aware. It was signed at the at the closing documents, and you were there, but you weren't listening. You were paying attention to the dollars because you were signing away." So
I understand that does take a couple hours to buy a house, just signature after signature. So
yeah.
I get where that might be.
Yeah, some people are just not social, and I get that. I used to be that way myself until I became a little more open to the community.
Now, that's a good point. I think Clint might have provided the letter to you that we had sent this anonymous complainer. And do you guys have a copy of this? Okay.
His name is on there, so yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, I guess
Not
it's
so
not
anonymous anymore.
Mr. Sessler.
Yeah.
And to that point, we are more than welcome to talk to neighbors.
Yeah.
We're more than welcome to talk to anybody. I mean, this letter shows that we would love to sit down and meet with them. We would love to have a phone call, introduce ourselves, hear concerns, see if there's anything we can do. We are more than abiding by the PDD restrictions. And we would love to have that conversation with them, but they haven't reached out to talk to us after we've tried. So if you do ever run into them.
I would love to, and if it's okay, I mean, just as a welcoming to the neighborhood, but I would also, since I've lived there since 1992, I remember when blasting was at the state limits and not the current limits, and it was way different back then, and it was a really big deal when a blast went off. You really felt it in your house, but this is nothing, to what we were. And I'd like to, explain that part of it to him, how much better it has gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, I continue to walk the neighborhood. That's my jam when I'm over there. So I talk to everybody over
That's
there.
good.
There's one house in all those Viridian houses, the big development, these $600,000 to $1,200,000 houses. One house has solar energy panels on the roof. I thought that was interesting.
Any other comments?
Would it be possible for somebody in the city to contact that complainer, claim that these two?
I can try to reach out. Yeah. However, in the form, we have a box that says if they want to be contacted by a city representative. We'll need to check if they check that yes or no.
It might be.
We normally contact everybody that checked yes. So we haven't contacted because they checked no.
You would think with the number of contacts that they've made to the city that that kind of says that they're making contact, you know, so a reverse contact might be in order, but I don't know.
The thought I have is that we're talking about the anonymous complaints. We're still going to get those that are indicate who they are, and what, so that would still be part of the report, even though they're coming from the Marquette. Would just be those that you're suggesting would be the anonymous ones.
Other addresses, yeah.
Wouldn't be in our totals. How far did Clint want us to go on that?
I believe his thought was that complaints coming from the new development specifically would not be considered complaints on the reporting
None of them.
because they've waived their right
To object.
to object.
Yeah. Well, no, there's the wording object
Right.
and complain.
Yeah.
Kind of two different verbs. But
I guess for me, I'd like to see those that are legitimate complaints, just to see what they're saying and what their thoughts are. But if it's an anonymous complaint coming from that area, they've waived their results. I mean, that they're trying to let us know something if they are putting their name on it. If they're not putting their name on it, then they're not.
yeah, it's anonymous to the city completely.
Yeah. So that's just a thought that I had, but that's.
Clint had a petition for this particular name and address, I think. He said that he had to petition the city, the Freedom of Information Act or something like that,
Yes.
to get this. And
Yep.
so it was anonymous, but he made it less anonymous. My comment back to Clint might be that I don't think that some of these comments that we're hearing are coloring our committee point of view. What do you all think?
Holy crap. Was the one complaint that I kind of went, okay.
Yeah, the one, the Holy Craft one, yeah.
Yeah,
That was a big,
that was the.
that surprised me too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I think it's important to note a complaint. I mean, that's what the forms are there for. But I understand the issue because this person is persistent and who is grading? I mean, we're oversight and but is it like a grade level or something that Payne and Dolan is concerned about?
No, just that there are, I mean, half of the complaints that we're getting, like I said, are from people that have waived their objection to complain. So when we come in here and there's 6 of the 12 complaints are people that shouldn't be complaining based on what they signed, it's more than just not a good look for us. It's now in the record that we're getting consistent complaints.
Right. How about if complaints from the Marquette Avenue area are asterisked as having accepted this in buying their properties and blah, blah, you know, all that.
I guess I could see just being aware of what's coming in, but not having them be reported.
You
You know, if there's a legitimate someone that's signing it and letting us know who they are, and they'd like to make a comment, I'd like to hear it, but that doesn't have to be put into the numbers. Is that what you're
Sure.
suggesting?
That's the other, yeah, it's a good alternative also, sure. Yeah. I was just thinking if we had like 12 objections and 6 were from Marquette Avenue, 6 of the objections would be asterisks that, so it really.
Or just a separate kind of a sheet that says this, for this quarter, we had 6, like the Marquette sheet. Just a sheet that is or a paragraph that capsulizes the Marquette. But it wouldn't be in the real numbers.
I'm open I'm open to whatever the committee wants to see. Be it, you know, the asterisk option, doing a smaller summary, just stating that without the details, because if the committee wanted the details, they're available in the reports. That the city receives the complaint forms, so the data is still there. If we just want, if the committee still wants to see
What they're saying.
a part of what they're saying, you know, without the
Well, some of them, This seems over the top, what they're
we've
saying.
been kind of modifying this report to be what you want it to be by adding details over the course of the past couple of years. And then how we've been handling the anonymous but identified general area for the past 2 quarters. So we're open to including what you find valuable and what you need in the report, into the report, so.
So you could possibly do a paragraph that would capsulize just the Marquette information that is legitimate, or I shouldn't say legitimate, but is non-anonymous. Is that a word?
An anonymous.
Non-anonymous. Who wants anonymity? I don't know. Anyway, if they're doing their name and putting it down as a complaint, wanting to let us know, I'd like to see that capsulized in a separate summary from what the data is that's coming in from the rest of the area.
And this would just be from the homes in the new subdivision in Marquette
Right.
Avenue, not the older homes,
Right,
like committee member pings.
because I think
Right.
that's what Clint.
So I would need help from
Do 50.
Regulo in identifying
We can send you the layer with the plat.
So
Yep.
those to the
that.
north.
I just need to identify if it's Marquette Avenue Viridian or pre-2020 Marquette Avenue.
So you're thinking just
No.
like a blurb that says there were 6 complaints from the Viridian
Marquette
area
say,
this
Don't-
quarter.
we aren't attacking Meridian in any way. It's just the
Nope.
Marquette area.
Yep,
No, the
Viridian
new development
Yeah.
yep.
in the Marquette Avenue area.
And if they're a signed complaint, just a separate little, like you do here with these, we had 6 complaints, and this is the comments, but that doesn't get translated into the overall data. That would be to the north of the Viridian, to the south of the Viridian, to the south side of Rawson, to the southeast of Rawson and Drexel, that goes that way or whatever. So that, I think, is I don't know if that's workable for the committee, but that would be a thought.
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, your neighborhood south of the core used to be the big complaint area.
It
Down there,
is.
you really tamped them
And
down.
I know everybody from history of when we had the quarry wars,
Yeah.
so.
So if I had one statement along the lines of X being the number of anonymous complaints from the new development in the Marquette Avenue area were received this quarter, and that would be the only statement in the report regarding
I'm kind of
those
thinking if
complaints.
it's.
And then if they had more details, or it was in the pre-Viridian construction,
Older neighborhood around that.
yep, that they would have the details.
These
If-
new
if-
homes, if they have their floorboards are physically rattling in their homes, they have more problems than the Corey being a neighbor. They have floorboard problems in their homes.
Personally, I don't mind seeing the details of the anonymous complaints from subdivision. Quarter, all of the complaints were on blast that were well below the limits. So I think all the complaints should really have an asterisk. I guess once we have complaints about blasts that are outside the limits, that's the real action.
It would be noted in the commentary for each of the blasts if the complaint was, if the blast had exceedances.
Yeah.
And none of the blasts that were over, the 3 blasts that had an air overpressure or a vibration exceedance last year did not have complaints.
Go figure. Well, tell Clint that on behalf of us, I assume I'm speaking for us all, that I don't think that these complaints are coloring our opinion of Pinandone as a business neighbor. I think we all respect what you all do and for the city and for the roads and everything else, but, yeah.
In a way, I can understand what Clint is saying, though, because
It
if
looks-
someone that doesn't understand it sees this report, and it says there were 13 complaints in this quarter, then that's coloration of what they're seeing. But for us, it's straightforward, and we understand the dynamics of it. But it's still, to an outsider, that might be something that might trigger some alarm.
Now we're getting to needing legal counsel.
So I don't know, I mean, I'll listen to the will of the committee in terms of any motions to have us change it, or whatever you'd like to.
Well, I appreciate the discussion so far. I like the idea of just having a blurb that says this is how many complaints were from this new development. If it were up to us, we would rather have nothing. You know, we don't want that blurb even, because like I said, I mean, they signed it, they said they weren't gonna object, they're objecting, so we would like to not see it at all. But it is ultimately up to the committee.
Yeah.
You guys can make that final decision.
The good news is that in the 3 years I've been on this committee, we've never had a resident come to the customer, complaint microphone at the beginning of the meeting.
They don't come to the city.
Until-
to comment.
Until Mr. Nelson showed up tonight, that was our first time we've ever had anybody at the microphone regarding the quarry.
They were here early in my tenure. I've been doing this for almost 6 years, so
Yes.
it's not that distant of the past where we had people.
Right? It used to be a big deal.
And then miraculously, steps were taken. Calm everything down. I still don't know what those were, but.
I'm still very excited about the park and the lake. Even though I won't see it.
So is there a motion that would be made, or shall we just carry it over for, let this sink in and have it at the next meeting to finalize? Or I think we could do that as well as do a motion this evening. It's just changing the reporting, that's all we're doing. And
Yeah.
So it's not council action, it's just, we want to have our data presented.
I wouldn't mind, if we did just asterisk it off to the side. The complaints are there, they're made, but these are from the new people that
That have signed the waiver.
have signed the waiver, yeah.
It could be an asterisk at the bottom of it saying, in addition, blah, 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 that, that number of anonymous complaints from the Marquette Avenue, new recent construction in the Marquette Avenue. We can work through the language, but to specify that, and then do we want to have something in there about the acknowledgement that they signed, or just leave it alone?
You can refer to that. If you can please send me a copy.
I
of that document. Yep.
will work through language on it before the report comes
So
out.
this would be a carryover then till we see that language at the next meeting.
Okay.
That-
And word that. And then it will, for the report, it will be in the
It'd be
second
second
report.
quarter.
Yeah,
would
second
have the new
quarter.
language,
Right.
but Regulo and I can work through some language, and we'll,
Can provide a draft
yep,
for the next meeting, and then if the draft is
And then
confirmed, then we can
adjust
have it for
always
the
go back
following
and
meeting.
adjust the data.
okay.
The good step we took here is that there's going to be a outreach by Regulo to the, to reach out to this particular household to see, if we can talk, if they would like to
This
talk
is
about it.
Another option
Yeah.
to.
I think Clint did a great thing by doing what he did, It was a pretty bold step, but he did it, so.
Because we could make it retro. We could, at that next meeting, change the data from the first report to reflect it.
Okay. Is the motion to table to the next meeting
Yeah,
to review a draft
Have it-
language? Okay.
pending the draft language. Motion to table pending the draft language.
Okay.
You need that motion? I would so motion
There's been a motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Just as a final wrap-up before we could schedule the next meeting. Tentatively.
April, Kristen?
Later in the month.
Okay.
Are we gonna have issues getting data the first week?
We can provide the data, yeah,
And I
like
was able
first
to
week.
report to you in time for,
Yep.
yeah.
Tuesday, the 22nd of April. Does that work?
Yeah, that works for me.
So at that point, I will no longer be an alderman. So we will have to have a new alderman will be placed on. Whoever wins the election will be the new alderman that steps on this committee because I'm not up for reelection. I'm planning I'm going to retire. We're going to have a little bit of fun and get off all these committees and get off the council and maybe my wife and I can plan a trip or something without having to worry about meeting schedules and have a little bit of fun. So but the practical application of that is there's a new alderman that will be at this meeting. And it will be the new 5th District alderman. So
You know, has anybody decided to run for that or no?
2 people are running for it
Okay.
right now. So whatever the electorate decides, that will be the new member. And then you can vote a new chairman as the agenda item as well.
The will of the people.
And I think the most experienced alderman at that point would be.
No way.
No way.
You're
I would-
usually you're conflicted with meetings by you're on
Yeah, right.
another committee, right?
Right,
Or
because they
commission.
have the Board of Public Works sometimes at the same time. I missed the meeting.
Right.
So
The 22nd?
I would be here the 27th.
Okay, I didn't know if that, I know we've shifted
I'll
it
be here, so
because of
maybe the
that.
new alder can be nominated for the chair.
With no experience? We need experienced leadership.
Oh my, they can catch up. They're pretty smart.
Okay, I'm not going to twist his arm anymore. You guys can do that.
Any more or less, huh?
Okay, I will, hearing no other, I will call this meeting to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second. Okay.
There's been a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Adjourned.
Thank you.